Blossom, and I'm really delighted to be here today to talk a little bit about some of my own career, but specifically, I was talking about wrapping up the year in particular. So to do this, I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second, and all right, I think you should be able to see that now. Um, Francis, can you give me a thumbs up and let me know if my screen is showing? Okay, thank you. That's great. Um, so let me talk about this a little bit. My talk today is about the data revolution, and then how smart decisions shape successful careers. And I have some insight on this. I'm going to tell you about from my own experience, and hopefully some of it will translate well to what you are working on these days. And I'm just going to begin by saying this is the view of Salt Lake City from Bonneville Boulevard, where I rode my bike this morning to get down to where I am, with the Ochre Mountains in the background and the Wasatch Mountains off to the left. It's a beautiful place. I hope you get to come here sometime. Now, the specific topic for today is that this webinar today's explore strategies to reflect on achievement, set meaningful goals, and finish the year with clarity and purpose. It's a guide to closing the year positively and preparing for the year ahead. So more briefly, reflect on achievements. It's the end of the year. It's a good time to do that. Set meaningful goals because the new year is coming up, and then finish with clarity and purpose. And I actually have important things to say about that, both in terms of data and career. And we'll go through those one at a time. But first, I want to say a little bit more about who I am. Francis addressed this. I just want to repeat some of it. First off, this is my LinkedIn page. And you are welcome to join me, to follow me, to connect with me there. I'm connected with people actually from every single country in the world, including Antarctica. But I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn, and I've got a little shortcut down there. I'll show it to you again at the end so you can see it some more. But one thing you're going to find out, by the way, is this second line here. It says Barton Polson, PhD, and then AI and data from a human perspective. And that's going to be really central to what I'm talking about today. So in terms of who I am, as Francis mentioned, my main job is that I'm a professor. I have a PhD in social psychology, and I'm a professor, a full professor at Utah Valley University, which is a large public university in the Western United States. And I also, despite the fact that my PhD is in social psychology, but that's a research discipline, I work primarily with data. I teach statistics at my university, and I teach courses on statistics and data science in other places. I have my own company called datalab.cc, where I share materials for free. And in the past, I have also run a data service event called the Data Charrette, where we partnered with local nonprofit organizations and spent a day or two to analyze their data and give them some actionable insights from that data. That was great. I also work with LinkedIn, specifically with LinkedIn Learning, where I make video courses on statistics and data science. I've recorded 43 courses in English for them. They've been translated 46 times, and they've allowed me to connect with people around the world. My videos, both on YouTube and on LinkedIn, have been viewed over 40 million times by people from over 180 different countries. And it's really a wonderful thing to be able to see what people are doing around the world with data and how I am able to do something that contributes to their own success in that. Now, let me talk about the first of the three themes today, and that is to reflect on achievements. It's the end of the year, and so it's generally a good time for reflection. The first thing I want to point out is something that all of you are doing is you are investing in yourself, and that is a beautiful thing. By working with Blossom, by taking other classes, by reading books, by... Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry. Um, but you are all investing in yourselves, and that is one of the best things that you could have been doing this year. And so, number one, when you're looking back at the year, think about how you have taken the time to learn new things, to develop your skills, and to put yourself in a better position to make a contribution. So that's your number one accomplishment for the year. Number two is you chose to work with data. You chose a field that has impact. You have an effect on what happens in the world, and that is a choice that you can be proud of. Third, you have chosen a field that needs you. The data doesn't analyze itself, and it is necessary for people like you to come in and work with the data to find the meaning in it and to share that with other people. This is a growing field. Even with AI coming in, the data work is not getting replaced. It's simply creating more opportunities to work with more data in more situations. And so this is a huge thing. You've chosen a field with impact and a field that needs your contributions. So these are all things to think about when you're reflecting on the year. Also, you've chosen to be part of a community, and that community can support you. If you're working with Blossom, that is a well established formal community that hopefully you've connected with both the instructors and with your fellow students, as well as any organizations that you're reaching out to. And hopefully, you also have family and friends around you who support you in both investing in yourself and in having this impact. And so, that community that makes things possible is a huge part of it. You know, the funny thing is, maybe they're sitting next to you on the sofa, like in this picture, but a lot of my community is people that I reach out online, and because of the way I do my work, I don't see them directly. I make videos, I send them out there. I've written a few books, I send them out there. Even my students at Utah Valley University are online, and so I see very few of them in person, but I know that they're there and I interact with them. And so I feel really wonderful to have this community, and I hope that you do too as you reflect on your things over the past year. So those are a few things to think about, just very specifically. You're investing in yourself. You've chosen a field with impact. You've chosen a field that allows you to make a particular contribution and needs you.
Um, Hello, Dr. Paulson, you are muted. So if you can unmute. Mhm.
Okay, let me ask, have you heard anything that I said?
Yeah, you were going over the point as to what we are investing, we are as investing in ourselves, and yeah, the latter part.
Okay, tell me which one you heard me on.
Yeah.
Did you
So
hear that?
after choose a field, and after this slide, investing in yourself.
This is the last time you heard me?
Yeah. So we can pick it from here.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. I didn't touch anything. So, okay, let's back up and let's say when you're actually, I'm going to back up one more. Reflecting on your achievements for the year, the first thing you want to think about in terms of what you've accomplished for 2025 is that you have invested in yourself. By being part of Blossom Academy, by reading, by watching videos, by practicing, by engaging, you are developing your own abilities. And that investment in yourself is one of the most important things you can do. That's a great thing to reflect on. Next, you have chosen a field, data work, that has impact. It affects what people do. It affects how organizations operate and whether they're able to accomplish their missions. And so you have chosen something that has a greater potential to impact than a lot of other things. So that's a wonderful thing to reflect on. Third, you've chosen a field that needs you. That even with AI coming in, it doesn't replace analysts, it augments what you're able to do. It allows you to do more projects, work with more data, and get more insights for a broader range of people, but it still needs you. AI facilitates a lot of the technical work, but it does not replace the human part. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in this particular presentation. And then also, you have a community that supports you. That is, if you're enrolled in Blossom, you have a formal established community right there. But also, you have family, you have friends, you have employers, you have other organizations that you've worked with. The community may be face to face and in person, but it may also be something more abstract. I teach online, and both with LinkedIn and at my university job. And so I rarely see these people face to face, but I know that they're there. I have these connections with them. And it's wonderful to have that community and know that there is an audience for what I do. And the same thing is true for your work. You also have a community that can support you as you invest in yourself and as you work to have impact in your work. The next thing I want to talk about is setting meaningful goals for the coming year. And let's start with this. Probably the most important thing that you can do in data work is to create value or add value to an organization through finding and communicating actionable insights. That's a key word that I hope you always have front and center is actionable insights. So basically what that means is you want to use data to give people a map, and you want to point to them, this is where you're going to go and this is how you're going to get there. Now, I know that sounds obvious, but I guarantee you it's not true for most data work. That people do projects and they're analyzing the data and they find something that's interesting, so that's an insight, maybe. Still, mostly you're finding patterns, and whether that is a pattern that gives you insight. But even then, an actionable insight means that whoever you're doing the work for, they can do something differently that builds on that insight. So what can they do as a result of it? And that is how you, as a person who is working with data in data analysis and web analytics and business intelligence and machine learning, data science, any of these, that's how you add value, is by creating insights that can be acted on. And so when you are working with data throughout the year, one of the most important things to do is for each project is to think about how can you add value, how can you make things better for the person you're doing this for, by specifically creating actionable insights, finding and communicating actionable insights from the data. It's something that you have to practice. You can find the data and say like, oh, we found that group A responded better to this campaign than group B did. Well, that's nice. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to try to change the appeal you make to group B so that they respond well also? Or are you going to take your resources and focus primarily on group A? Those are decisions you have to make, but it's those actions that are going to be a chief part of the way that you have impact. And so as the new year comes up and as you're looking for ways to build on your data work, specifically try to find ways that you can create or add value through actionable insights. Specifically, what are the people going to do? Make it abundantly clear. Tell them exactly what they need to do to reach their goals based on your analysis. The second thing is to focus on understanding. And what I mean by that is all data comes from people in one form or another, even if it's sensor data. Uh, you know, it got created, the mechanism got created by a person to serve a person's goals. People were involved in the whole thing. All data ultimately is created by people. It's not a natural resource that exists on its own. People have to make it happen. And also, most of the data that we're working with in settings comes from humans and it's about humans. And so it's really important to understand what people were thinking when they provided this data. Sometimes they provide it deliberately, intentionally. If they're filling out a survey, they know they're giving you data. Sometimes it's passive by you're looking at their logins or their clicks, but you need to know what's going on in people's heads and their lives in order to interpret your data accurately. So that means you need to spend time making sure you understand people's motivation and their context and what things might mean, because I can guarantee you There's always more than one way to interpret a particular finding. And so you want to have enough experience with the people in that context that you're working on so that you know how to interpret things. So focus on understanding, listen to the people that whose data you're working with whenever possible. Similarly, you're doing your analysis for a particular person or group of people, your stakeholders, your clients. It's very important to understand what they want, what they are looking for, what their constraints are, what they can act on. And then taking time to meet with your clients or your stakeholders so that you know what they need is going to make a big difference. And again, I know it sounds really obvious, but I think that has happened in a proper method in less than 10% of the data projects I've been involved in that I've seen. People take it as a given, and at the very end, you kind of don't know what's happening. And so it's worth taking the time up front to communicate, to discuss with them so you know what is going on with their projects. Make that a goal for the new year. The third one, and this is a personal preference, but it's based on a number of things, is when you're doing your data work, try to choose the simplest viable method. So by viable, I mean something that adequately, properly answers your questions. And I say choose the simplest method. I've used hand-drawn graphs at times. This is not one of mine. I'm a huge fan of spreadsheets. I mean, I know how to do a neural network. I know how to do artificial intelligence. But almost all of the actual data projects I work on involve spreadsheets. And they are very, very good for working with simple questions, which are the questions that most of my clients have and that most of my students will face when they're out working in the real world. The beautiful thing about spreadsheets is that your clients and your stakeholders can use them also. It's a great way to share the work in a way that they can build on in the future. So you want to choose the simplest viable methods. Even if you use AI to help you do the analysis, make sure you also have a simple method. I mean, deep learning is beautiful, but nobody understands what's happening in deep learning. If you do a predictive model with deep learning, it's a black box. Nobody knows what's happening in there. You need something that is easy to explain. Linear regression is very easy to explain. A decision tree, not a random forest, but a decision tree is very easy to explain. You can see what's going on there. The same thing with cross tabulations and tables and spreadsheets. Line charts are very easy to understand. Bar charts are very easy to understand, and they are usually adequate for most applications that are focusing on insight or decisions that will be made by humans as opposed to a software product. And then let me say a little bit about finishing with clarity and purpose. Know your goals. And this applies in several different domains. Number one, I said when you do a project with a client or a stakeholder, you want to know what the goals of that particular project are. What exactly are they trying to figure out? Not just like who's interested in this product and who's interested in that product, but are they trying to open a new factory? Are they trying to close a facility? Are they trying to determine whether they should hire more people or if they have too many? You want to find out specifically what their goals are because then you can address them in the most concrete way. Second, you want to know what your own goals are, especially as you're learning to work with data, exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish. Because I'll tell you, a lot of people have the goal that I'm going to get this training and then I'm going to go work for some giant tech corporation and I'm going to be doing full-time machine learning or AI. Maybe that's a small number of people. On the other hand, everybody needs the insights from data everywhere. I have worked with dance companies. I have worked with small nonprofits that organize volunteers or that train people to make videos. I have worked with global finance corporations. I've worked with government agencies. None of these are quote unquote tech companies that do data stuff full time, but all of them need the data. And so your own goals in terms of your career, obviously, I know you're trying to prepare yourself to have maximum impact, but just remember that there are so many different ways to have that impact. My own career has taken a series of very surprising turns in terms of having impact. Again, I'm a psychology professor, but where I have my most impact is teaching data science for insights to a global audience and being open to following those things. I thought I had to be a standard psychology professor, and I it took me 10 or 15 years to learn that was not really what I wanted to do. I had this other set of possibilities in front of me, and so I had to redefine my own goals. That's been really important. I hope that you will do the same thing for your own career. And then when it comes to a specific data project, understanding your clients or your stakeholders' goals, it's worth the time. Next is embrace your individuality. You don't have to dye your hair green, but my point here is that everybody has their own voice, their own take on things. I have been very, very successful teaching statistics and data science on LinkedIn. It's been amazing. The funny thing about that again is I have 4 degrees, but none of them are in statistics or data science. They're all in psychology. And one of the really significant things here is it's given me a much better understanding of the human context of the people who provide the data and the people who are going to use the data. And I think it's that human context, that understanding that I got from my background in psychology that has made me much better as a data analyst and as a teacher of data analysis. Another thing also is a lot of times there's an assumption that the best teacher of your data class is going to be the person who is the best professional at that. So you want somebody who comes from the biggest tech corporation who is, their highest person. Yeah, sometimes that's going to be the case. But teaching is a very specific, specialized skill. And what I have is 30 years of teaching people who are scared by statistics and who feel overwhelmed. And I've found a way to make it approachable. And that experience has made me approach it from a very different way from, say, somebody who has been working professionally as a machine learning engineer for years, but has not taught before. They're going to do it very differently. And I've embraced my individuality that I am a teacher first and foremost, that I am a psychology teacher second. And also, I have a background in design. I took drawing classes. I'm married to a modern dance choreographer. And embracing that individuality and having my own voice is important. Not only, I'm not saying specifically like in terms of your presentation style, though that matters, but it also changes what you look for in the data and how you interpret it. You're going to have your own distinctive voice when it comes to working with data, and you should embrace that and use that as your key to adding value. The last thing I want to say is it's a big world. This is Times Square in New York City, and if you go halfway down to the left, I used to live half a block off the street there. Um, there are so many ways that you can add value with data. Again, I said it's not just major tech companies. It's not just where data science or AI or machine learning is in your job title. People in social media marketing need data. People who are the chief technology officers, people who work in accounting, people who are running their own small business, whether it's painting signs or teaching dance lessons, any of those people need to work with data to do their job better. And so just be mindful that you can take your skills and you can add value to almost anything anybody is doing anywhere. It's a big world, and you've got so many opportunities to add value. And I hope you'll look for those opportunities in the new year. And that is my presentation. So thank you very much. And if you want to join me on LinkedIn, there is my address again, as well as my company, datalab.cc, and a collection of other things. And so with that, I am going to come back to the main, and I'm going to turn off the presentation. Well, folks, we've got some time left. And if you have Any particular questions that you can put into the chat, um, I would love to answer them. Thank you for the applause. I appreciate it. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Hello guys, come on. Can we put some fire in the comment section, some fire emoji in the comment section? Let's just show how we do it here. Some fire emoji in the comment section. Let's see those of us that are repping, that are actually putting down some few points. Oh yeah, I can see Davina. Interesting. Davina is here. Awesome, awesome. Everyone is at this point, right? So, Doc has said a lot. I know we've actually had time to reflect on some of the things that Doc has said. We've actually opened up the floor. You can actually put in your questions quickly. Let's do this in the next few minutes. I mean, we are actually on time. So, yeah. So if you have any questions, you can actually put them forward quickly. Yeah. So
Okay, Gladys. Gladys asks if you have to be good at math before you can get a data analyst or data engineering. Well, if you're going to be a machine learning engineer, you're going to have to be good at computer science. And if you're going to be developing algorithms, yeah. But you know what? Um, Data in general, no, because you're usually working with standard algorithms that are well established. The main thing is you have to understand enough, you have to understand enough about the math so that when something goes wrong, you know what happened. Look, I can't, I took a calculus class in college when I was a freshman. That's the last time I did a straight ahead math class. You don't have to have all the probability theory. You don't have to have the linear algebra or the calculus unless that is your full-time job responsibility. Most of the time, as long as you understand the general idea of how the algorithm works, and especially when it doesn't work, I can tell you that understanding how variable standardization works when you're doing classification is important, because if you don't do it, you're going to get results, but they're going to be skewed, and you're not going to know that they're skewed unless you can say, "Whoops, I forgot to put things on the same scale." If you have missing data, it's important to know enough about the process of how missing data can affect the calculations. But no, you don't have to have a math degree. Remember, your job is not, you're not being hired to do math. You're being hired to deliver actionable insights. And so the math is going to be important, at least knowing the general concepts and how it affects. So that's what I would say. Ivan says, how did you transition into data science as psychologist? I took some courses, and maybe you took another degree in data science. No, I did not. My only degrees are in psychology, and I teach the courses on data science. I did not take them. The way this works is, in my field, social psychology, it's very common. Um, that's a research degree. And in the university setting, it's very common for people in social psychology to teach the research classes. So I taught statistics for psychologists and research methods and experimental psychology. I've taught those for over 30 years. I've taught statistics over 100 times. I've written my own textbook for that. Um, it was a gradual transition. I was terrified the first time that I taught it. I was barely ahead of the students, but I've become more and more comfortable. And it's been really a gradual transition. I do not have a separate degree in data science. But again, I say also, I'm not developing algorithms. I am not a machine learning engineer. What I am is a person who helps people get insights out of data. And that one, it's, if as long as you know how to do a linear regression that makes sense, as long as you understand enough about probability to understand false positives and false negatives, I think you're going to be in a pretty good situation. I have another question here. Is it necessary to get a master's degree in data science regardless of your background to be good at it? It depends on your goals. Um, if your goal is to work as a data scientist in a tech company, you are probably going to have that. But on the other hand, the people at Blossom Academy would be in a much better position to answer that one from their own industry connections than I would. But I'm saying if you're going to work, say, for instance, in um, in marketing, but you're going to be doing data analytics and marketing, no, you don't need a data science degree to do that. You need to know how to work the algorithms. You need to know how to work it. But in those situations, you're not being hired by the degree. You're being hired by the insights that you're able to bring to the organization. Again, if you're going to be working for a tech company doing tech stuff, yes, you're going to need the degree, but the people at Blossom will tell you that best. Otherwise, you're just trying to make sure you understand enough about the people. Remember, data analysis is a way of understanding people. It's an exercise in interpretation, and so you need to be good at that. Um, Another question here is, actually, Tunde asks, what would be your candid advice to a newbie who's trying to change career path in data science? Okay, number one is you don't have to do it all. Remember, are you trying to be a full-time machine learning engineer for a tech company? That's a big thing. But if you're trying to be in a position to use data to add value to something that people do, there are so many different ways you can do that. If you're trying to work, say, for instance, for uh, one of the public utilities, actually, a funny one is I've been connecting with people around the world on LinkedIn. I found a number of people who live on small islands and who work for the government in the fisheries, and they're doing data analysis in the fisheries. So it's about fishing. They're obviously keeping track of fishing data. I don't think it's enormously complicated. Um, they need to understand how to do things like how to enter the data, how to clean it, how to do basic charts, how to do a linear regression, how to do a crosstab. I mean, really, that stuff's going to get you 90% of the way for most applied settings. That stuff is not that complicated. That's, again, that's if you're working in a non-data setting, but doing data questions. In terms of full-time data science, you're going to probably need specialized training. Fortunately, the people at Blossom are in a great position to provide that. Andrew asks, what learning strategies will you recommend to getting over the line when studying difficult data topics? I can recommend two things. Number one is to remember, well, three things. Number one, everything we do in data, absolutely everything that is done in the data world, there is an intuitive version that you do all the time already. And so just remember, when you do data work, you are simply doing a thorough, explicit version of something that you already do intuitively. And so try to connect to the version of it that you already do intuitively, where it already makes sense. People do Bayes analysis intuitively all the time. And so it's easy to connect with that. A second one is if there's something that you know well or something that you care about, use that. So for instance, a lot of people have been involved in competitive sports, or my son is, I think, still watching English Premier League football this morning. He loves it. He plays football, soccer here in the United States, and he watches it. And there's so much data that's available there. And using these kinds of things that you care about and that you know well, those are going to be great because those will give you an opportunity to bring in the extra context and insight. You can say, yeah, I know that this thing happened, but I also know that that's because of this one outlier or because this is not a representative season right here. And then the third one is kind of a funny one, is use AI. If something is confusing to you, or if you're having trouble making sense of it, or if it's not working right, use the AI and explain the exact problem. Like, I'm trying this, it's not working, and try if you can, try more than one AI. I actually have 7 AIs that I consult on a regular basis for a variety of opinions. Also, something I tell my students, a lot of them, they're taking my statistics class. They're going like, I'm going to be a therapist. I don't need statistics. This is stupid. And I tell them, look, if you're taking a class and you don't care about it, I can guarantee you there's a reason that course is required. You can use the AI to help you figure out why you should care about it. I mean, literally ask the AI, why will this ever matter in what I want to do? How is this going to make a difference and help me care about it? It can help you with that. Priscilla, you have your hand up.
Yes.
Priscilla, hi.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I have one question. And my question is, how important is it to understand a domain knowledge of a field outside what you are used to? So maybe you're coming from psychology and then you move to maybe telecom. How important is it to understand the domain knowledge there? And have you used any best practices personally?
Yeah, so thanks for asking that question. The answer is you don't necessarily have to have all the domain knowledge yourself, but you are definitely going to have to connect with somebody who does have that domain knowledge. So if it's so, like in telecom, you're going to need to talk with somebody who knows that business well. And so you don't have to do it, but you can connect with them. You have your own domain knowledge, you have your own personal expertise that you can bring into things, and you can ask them questions. But if you don't, somebody has to have the domain knowledge, but it doesn't have to be you. You're being brought in as a consultant. Just make sure that you connect with them frequently, and then you can get a mutual understanding. And so that's what I would recommend.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hardy, what advice would you give a data analyst with less than 2 years of experience who wants to get into freelancing on Upwork or Fiverr, seeing that competition out there and how to secure gigs? Oh man, that's a hard one. I mean, sorry, I'm going to tell you, it's kind of a joke. This isn't about the data world, but I have a brother who worked in construction. And he said, if you could show up on time and if you could show up sober, you were ahead of 90% of the people. But anyhow, showing up on time, talking enough with the client to know exactly what they want. And I'll tell you right now, being upfront about what you can and cannot do. I have gotten myself into bad positions by not knowing what was fully involved in a project and trying to do something I couldn't do. And what I really should have done is after I talked with the client and say like, okay, now I understand what you're looking for. And no, I'm not the right person for that. You're going to need to talk to this other person instead. Sometimes they'll appreciate that and they'll come back to you. Freelancing, I'll tell you right now, show good work and learn how to comment in your code and learn how to explain what you're doing really, really well and show people that you are able to understand their goals and give actionable insights. You know what? In fact, I'd say if you can say, I will consult with you to understand the projects of your goals and your constraints, and I will give you actionable insights with clearly commented code in between. That would be helpful. I would be more likely to hire somebody who did that. I hire people on Upwork every now and then, so that might work. And Daniel says, what will be your advice for a data analyst who wants to advance in data science? What are things he or she should consider? Well, number one is my last slide that I had is it's a big world. There are so many ways to take data skills and do something useful in the world. And most of them will not have the word data science in the job role. Mine does not. I'm a professor of psychological science. It doesn't say data science or statistics. The work that I do for LinkedIn, you know, most of my people, that's not their job title. And so you need to be aware when you're looking for a way to get into data science. Well, the way to get in might not say data science, but an opportunity to work with data. And again, even then it might be something that's only there, part of the time. I've used the example of social media marketing. Data science is not their full-time job, but it's an important element of their job, and they will do better as a result of it. The same is true for somebody who works for an insurance company. Data science is not your job title, but the ability to work with data is going to make you so much better in what you do as the insurance company. And so that's a way of bringing extra value. And so my most important thing is remember, it's a big world and there are a lot of different opportunities that have very different names in them and places where you can use your skills to bring extra value. Is it enough to be a data analyst if you only have Python skills? I hope you can use a spreadsheet too. I mean, seriously, can you use Excel or Google Sheets? Those are going to be important. Python is the single most common tool in data science these days. It used to be R. I primarily would work in R. Python's great. An interesting thing I've learned is that many of the AI tools these days, if you give them your data set and you tell them specifically what you're trying to do, the AI will open its own environment in Python and do the analysis for you and give you the tables. Now, it is always important to then download the code and then go through it yourself to make sure it's proper, but it can do that as a great way of saving time. And it does that with Python. So doesn't do it with R, doesn't do it with Julia, or rather it prefers Python. And so Python's a great one. But remember, the tool does not make the analyst. You can make an absolutely super productive career working with data in nothing but spreadsheets. I know people who do this. I know billion-dollar companies that operate entirely on spreadsheets. Python is simply a means and to insights. Your goal is not to be the person who works with Python, but your goal is to be the person who delivers actionable insights based on the data. There's more than one way to get to that. Python's a very good tool for that. It's a very common one. I hope you can work with spreadsheets too. If you're not familiar with spreadsheets, you can learn it over the next week. It's easy. You don't have to do anything super fancy. Python's a good tool, but remember, your main responsibility is not to be a Python programmer, but is to be a person who gives actionable insights from data. Okay, so Ivan says, since AI can now analyze data, what advice would you give to a data analyst who wants to be on top of his or her career and not be displaced? Okay, ready? The human element I said about communicating with people and understanding the context. AI is good at the technical part, but it doesn't do the human part. It doesn't understand the context. It doesn't understand the motives of people who are filling things out. It doesn't understand the motives of your client or the constraints that they're facing. So the crazy thing about it is those quote unquote soft skills are going to become massively more important, relatively speaking, now that a lot of the technical skills can be offloaded to AI. Let's see here. Richard says, as a data scientist, knowing how to use Locker Studio, Python's spreadsheet, Power BI, and Tableau enough, it's more than enough. I only know how to use 2 of those. And I have done very, very well in the data world. I use spreadsheets and I am medium okay at Python. Again, my strength is in R. Really, I use SPSS for a long time. Again, it's not the tools. It's the ability to bring insight. You've got plenty of tools there. You've got more than you need. If I were you, don't focus on tools. Focus on interpretation and on giving actionable insights that meet clients' goals. That's going to be the hard part, and that's the part that the AI can't do for you. And Agnes says, as a current CS student and interested in data science, is there a structure of learning one needs to follow since you don't know what resources to use and start from? Fortunately, that's where Blossom is in a perfect place to advise you on a learning path as you go through. And I'm actually going to recommend that you talk to the instructors at Blossom. They will give you a great way to get started on that. But remember, the tools are important, but they're not sufficient. Understanding your clients, understanding the people who gave the data, and interpreting to find the actionable insights That's the part that the AI can't do. And that's the part that you're going to need to focus on and make sure that you include as one of the critical elements of your training. And Francis, where are we for time?
Oh, 10 minutes more. I
Oh,
think
great.
10 minutes more. Yeah.
You know, I do want to emphasize the technical skills are important. You need to have them, and the AI will help you. I mean, I use AI. The reason I know AI can do Python is because I was trying to do a new kind of a new algorithm I had never done before, um, called general estimating equations, that's used in epidemiological research. And I was trying to use it on a kind of data that I've never worked with before, which was incompletely nested data. And that's when I fed it all into the AI and it spat it out. And I said, oh my goodness, I didn't know that was possible. But in terms of interpreting the data and making sense of it and telling the client what to do about it, that's something that I, as a human, still needed to do. It can give you suggestions, but I would not trust the AI suggestions on those things. I think that the human element is still going to be really important. Manassa says, as an agricultural science student, what are my chances of becoming a data analyst? Well, I hope they would be good. Agricultural science is a huge field. I mean, with a global need. And every agriculture company is going to need people to analyze data. And again, the thing to remember is the job title may not say data analyst, but data skills will be involved in it in some way. And so I know that there's a lot of possibilities. I also think this is one where the instructors at Blossom might be in a good position to tell you about the specific possibilities that are available where you are. Oh, Daniel says, repeat the statement, don't focus on tools. Okay, ready? I'll say it again. The tools are important. You need to have a certain amount of tools, but it's not that many. Again, for my work, I do 90% of my work in spreadsheets. I use spreadsheets every single day. And traditionally, I then would go to an app like SPSS or Jamovi, and then I would go to a language like R or Python. But I think these days, really, all I need for my work is spreadsheets and Python, and that's it. But the tools work, and the AI will help you with the tools. You need to know enough about what's going on so that if something goes wrong, that you can fix it. And you can use AI to help you fix it sometimes. Sometimes you got to poke it many times to get it to get through it. But understanding the people is going to be important, and that means several things. It means the people who have asked you to do the analysis, understanding what their goals are, and they may not know what their goals are. They just may say like, "Oh, we've been told to throw AI at this particular problem." You need to talk with them enough to see exactly what's motivating their request for this analysis. Then you need to understand the people where the data came from. I can give you amazing examples of applied work I've done for huge corporations where it turned out that we were trying to model a rare outcome, and it turned out that 50% of the people who were in the category for that rare outcome were misclassified. 50% because they misunderstood the question. That destroyed the analysis. We had to find a way to remove all of them and do it all over again. But understanding what's going on and how they interpret it, what it means, what's going on around them is going to be important. And then finally, understanding the people who are going to act on. Who's going to take these results and do something with it? Might not be the people who hired you. It might be a different group. And so how are they going to be able to act on it? What can they do? What can't they do? What are their constraints and their possibilities? Understanding that is going to be important. And so here's the deal. You have to know the tools. The tools are necessary, but they are not sufficient. And the AI can help with the tools. Understanding the context, the people, and how it goes in is also necessary, And the AI does not help with that part yet. And that's where you can still add enormous value. Oh, thanks, Daniel. We got time for one or two more questions?
Yeah, I think we can take one more question if there is. Yeah, we can take one more question at this point.
Do you think for one to succeed as a data scientist or analyst, should one consider a degree in psychology to better appreciate the human element? Actually, one thing what I think is really good is reading books. I mean, novels. I think reading novels, truthfully, I have more poetry on my shelves than I have statistics books. That's literally true. I think understanding people. No, books about people. I'm fiction. I mean, I can give you books from the Western canon, but I don't know if they're the ones that you want. Um, but anything that helps you understand people and their motivations better. TV shows and movies work well that way. Understanding people. Um, if you have a friend who loves to read or loves to write, ask them for recommendations. They'll give you more than you can ever read. Um, but learning to understand people, biographies also work too, and memoirs. Um, I would take some time. Those will give you better understanding to people, and that's going to add. So you don't need a whole other degree. Just spend some time reading about people, learning about people. That's going to go really far in terms of what you need to do. All right. Well, Francis, I think we're done.
Yeah, yeah. And all too soon, guys, we've actually um gotten to the close of this session. But there is one point I wanted to iterate on when Doc was actually speaking about not just focusing on the tools, right? And interesting enough, Blossom Academy is rolling out a course from next year. That is the certified business data analytics. And Doc, it's we would appreciate it. It has like all these structures in there, including the technical know-hows, where we are actually going to build any candidate in these three major areas. That is the tools itself, techniques, and also the competency, building competency in the field. And that is the certified business data analytics, right? And I think Doc has actually drawn I'll say my advertisement to like a very high peak that we can all understand and appreciate so much. Thank you so much, Doc, for this insightful session. We really do appreciate. I was actually co-hosting this with Connie Love, do you have any last words before we are bring this to a close?
Mostly, I'm so grateful to be here, and I love that you people, again, are taking the time to invest in yourselves and develop your own ability to bring insight to other people. I think you're making the world a better place, and I'm grateful for it.
Right. We are grateful to have you here too as well. Thank you so much. And guys, let me say this. This is not the only time we are going to be speaking with Doc. We have other programs that we have structured with Doc. So please be on standby. Whenever we say six, please make sure you do that. But we want to quickly create I don't know if I have permission to do this, but we want to create a pool. We want to know those of you that joined us today. We wanted to know those of us that have actually taken a course with us, and that means in data analytics itself, or maybe any other course apart from data analytics in Blossom. And those of us that haven't actually taken any other course before, we would want to know, and we would also want to be sharing most of these messages. And for the last time, the amazing thing is this meeting is recorded, and we will try and as much as possible to make it ready so that those of us that are interested in going over it, because I know I'm going to go over this again. I don't know for you. Just put some 222 in the comment if you know you're going to go over this again, because I know I'm going to. I know I'm going to. So I want to see some. Oh, good. Anita is going to. Yeah. And it's not going to be only me. Anita is going to go through. Michael, how are you? Nice to meet you again. Awesome. Nice. Yeah, yeah. So it's like we are having more of our alumni joining today, and it's great. It's great. All right. So let me see if I'll take any last word. Connie Love, are you here? Connie Love, are you with us?
Yeah, Francis, I'm with you.
Um,
I think I'm so engrossed in the conversation and I don't have
right.
so much to say, but just to say a big thank you to Dr. Paulson for making the session very lively. And for me, my takeaway from the whole conversation was where you said it's not so much about the tools, but the analysis we're able to make out of these tools. And from a few meetings, conversations with data analysts, I think that's where they struggle with. So thank you for sharing light on that. And I hope that all of us have enjoyed the session. And thank you so much, Dr. Paulson, for making time. Thank you, everybody, for joining the conversation. Francis, over to you.
All right, guys. So at this point, we would want to close. We want to say goodbye to you. Please do take care of yourselves and make sure you go over it, right? I wish I could play some music, but this is not our normal class. So, yeah. All right, guys. Let's have a wonderful evening. See you next week.
All right. Bye bye.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, we couldn't actually take the pool. I think it's time. So maybe next time when we come, we will do that. Prince, sorry. Oh, okay, it's been sent to you. So if you can fill it quickly, we would want to know any of these things that you've actually taken with us quickly. You can do that before you leave the call. I think I have 60 people here. All right. We want to know those that haven't taken any course with us at all. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, good. Like most of us have. Awesome. Awesome. Please, you can actually do it before you go. You can actually do it before you go. We want to know those of us that haven't actually. Oh, Derek, you haven't. All right, all right. Can we actually have our number in the comment section for those of us that want to reach out to us for more information? Please do check in our comment section. Reach out to us. We can open up to some of our paid courses that we do run here, including digital marketing and the CBDA course that is about to be rolled out from next year. So please, good, good. Anita has sent that is 059 498 2555. Please do well to call us. Do well to reach out to us. We are ever ready to answer any questions you may have. All right. We are ready to answer any questions you may have and maybe know what our next course is. All right. So let's have a nice evening. It's 2 minutes past 7. It's two minutes past 7. I think we want to go now. We want to go now. The song I want to play. Oh, Michael, nice hearing from you too. Yes, yes, yes.